NBC 10 News at 7 o'clock is in your neighborhood. Some of you know this is my first week here at NBC 10. I'm new to Philadelphia and learning about this great city and this region on the job, including how the city responds to major events like snow. Last week, of course, we saw the biggest snowstorm in a decade. And as our meteorologists have been telling you, we have also seen 6 days straight of below freezing temperatures and counting. And the so-called warm-up on the way still won't be enough to melt these mounds of snow. This isn't normal for this area, I'm told, and it means that we've had to rely heavily on city crews to get our roads cleared, not Mother Nature. And depending on who you ask, the city has been masterful at clearing the roads or terrible.
I've lived here over 25 years. This is the first time since I've moved here that I've seen the city do the corners, which is phenomenal because just like every other part of the city, parking is not real good.
I think that I'm really impressed that the city has this capacity. 3 days later, and I'm taking my daughter to school, I'm getting my groceries.
People are digging out, and then the plows go down, and the cars are, it's like a brick wall on the side of the cars.
Nowhere to really put the snow. We got to put the snow up on the curbs, and people put the snow back in the streets.
Okay, so obviously differing opinions there. So let's just talk sheer numbers when it comes to this response. According to the city, there are roughly 18,000 blocks in the city of Philadelphia. We checked with city leaders today, and they told us that the city peaked at 800 vehicles and pieces of equipment in use. That was between Sunday and Monday. Now, 400 vehicles and pieces of equipment are out on the roads. And the city also says well over 8,000 city staff and contractors have been part of this huge effort. Just listing all that gives you a sense of the scope of the job here, right? But initially, city officials had been encouraging people to follow along with their process. But that seemed to change today. Get this, the city site purported to have real-time data on the plowing of city roads. But as of this morning, that site has been taken down. Fortunately, we got a screen grab of that site last night. You can see here the shades of blue indicate whether the streets have been plowed and what time. Gray meaning that the streets had not been treated yet by the city. But this map is no longer. This has been taken down with the message now saying that this is no longer a snow event. You see it there. Well, that's not what we've heard from you. So with this map no longer online, our NBC 10 investigators looked at public 311 data to see where the complaints are coming from the most. Take a look here. We want to show you the red on this map here. You all know Philadelphia. This is where the complaints are coming from now. Nearly 270 reports alone were made from people living in the 19148 zip code. That's that East Passyunk area in South Philly. Other top locations for plowing requests came from Point Breeze, Queen Village, and Port Richmond. So we wanted to see it for ourselves. We sent photojournalist Jason Ryan to East Passyunk. And look, you see the cars there, still buried beneath the snow. Some roads were not covered or are covered and frozen over at this point. The people who live there telling us that they have to be careful even walking around, and they told us that they can't wait any longer at this point for help from the city.
Having a better process of getting rid of this snow would be nice, you know. Seeing it here, it gets dirty and clogged up real quick.
It was day 5, and they finally took a plow down here. So it's completely ice rocks, like hard. You could throw it like a baseball. It was like COVID. I was stuck in my house again like COVID.
I started calling 311 on Monday, and I called Tuesday, and I called yesterday. And they just said look at the map, it'll tell us where we are. Everybody around us was being plowed. We never got plowed.
Okay, she made up 3 of the 270 calls to 311. It wouldn't be fair to look into all this without getting the city's response in perspective on this, of course. So we caught up with Carlton Williams from the City Streets Department out in North Philly, and we asked about progress, including why the website that was tracking their work is now down.
That system is usually done during a storm. It changes and refreshes every day. So once we complete those blocks, we don't return to that area, and therefore you don't get that data and information that the public is looking for. But the best form of data that we have is the use of the 311 mapping system. We get those complaints, we put them on a map, and we know and we route those areas so that those complaints can be addressed in the order in which they were received.
How do you prioritize which neighborhoods to go to? A lot of folks reached out to us speculating about why their neighborhood hasn't gotten cleaned yet. And can you clear up what goes into those decisions?
Well, we equally serve all neighborhoods simultaneously. Some need different treatments, others that you can easily run a plow through during the day of the storm, and the process is complete. There are some communities, like North Philadelphia and South Philadelphia, when you have those tight streets where you have to use different processes that take much longer to treat. In fact, the lipping operation, you have to use skid steers, you have to use backhoes, you have to pull out the snow out of the street, put it into a dump truck, and go back and forth to its final destination. That is when you have that long time consuming process that I think neighbors are getting frustrated with.
Look, we get it. The city isn't getting any help at this point from Mother Nature. They're working hard. We're also hearing from you as well, though. We want to know how conditions are, where you live. Scan that QR code on your screen. NBC 10 wants to be in your neighborhood. You can submit a tip, and we can follow up with the city to get you answers.